who was a Confederate surgeon, and because of the blockade, you didn't get many medical supplies, and especially ether and chloroform. So what's nice about this is, you open it up, there's a little sponge in here. You only have to put in a little bit of ether and chloroform, just a little bit for this sponge. You close it up like this, and you see the little vent here, it vents, and you stick this up in your nose like this and breathe in, and you're asleep. It's called a Chisholm inhaler. They would use this indiscriminately, and many soldiers died because they gave too much of this. A lot of times they just sprinkle this into the wound, and the man would become an addict, addicted to this. Another thing they used was for dizziness or headaches and things, laudanum. This is made from alcohol and opium, another narcotic. Here's something that's very interesting. You were saying doctors were nincompoops back then. A lot of them were. They would have all these medicines with different numbers on. Can you guys see in the front? And all these soldiers would line up and they say, I have this wrong with me, I have a pain here, I have a pain here. And they'd say, okay, you get number 49 and you get number 33. Now, is there any diagnosis here? Do I ever figure out what's wrong with them? No, I just say, okay, here's the medicine for you. Medicine, this is quinine. What is quinine used for?
Ink.
Malaria. And they had tin vessels they used them in. They even had little bottles, we call these puff bottles. These are actually blown glass. They even had medicine things made out of wood. Here's something. Oh, private shed. Didn't you have the bloody flux the other day?
Oh, you have to tell everybody about that?
Yeah, you should write this down. You know, more soldiers died in the war. It's a saying called, they died from death by frying pan. Beans, death by frying pan, it's a saying. More soldiers died from beans than from bullets. He had some bad beans. He had some very contaminated beans. He got the bloody flux. In other words, he has dysentery and diarrhea. So I give him calomel. This is made from mercury. And what it's going to make this man do is go to the bathroom even more. And if he goes more and more to the bathroom, what's going to happen to all his fluids?
Dehydrate.
He's going to be dehydrated and die. And, and what's sad about all this? What's sad about all this is they didn't even know that was causing that. He has two good front teeth. That's all he needs, two good front teeth to tear the cartridge. Okay? Now, let's see your back. Your back is all right. Lift up your arms. Okay, twirl them like this. Put your hands down. I'm going to show your hands. Open them like this. Okay, now, hop on one leg. Hop on the other leg. Let's see your balance. That's a physical exam. Okay? Now, the last part of the exam, if you pass this, you'll be in the Army, and you'll be, Mr. Shedd here, Private Shedd will induct you in the Army here. I have some questions. I want you to be as truthful as possible about these questions. Have you ever been sick before?
Yes.
What sicknesses have you had? You've had strep throat, anything else?
Yes.
Well, like what? I need to know that. I need to write these things down. What? Okay, colds. Have you ever had the fits?
No.
You know what the fits are?
No.
Have you ever gone,
Oh,
you know, like that? No. Have you ever received an injury or wound upon the head?
Yes.
Where? Okay, didn't look like it did any damage. Have you ever had a fracture, a dislocation, or a sprain?
Yes.
Where?
Ankle.
Okay, your ankle. Are you in the habit of drinking alcohol?
Yes. You should say yes.
Private Shedd, what do you think?
I think he's probably telling the truth.
I was telling the truth. Have you ever had the horrors? In other words, you dream in the middle of the night, you're screaming, like this, and screaming. Have you ever had the horrors? Okay. Are you subject to the piles? You know what the piles are? Have you ever had hemorrhoids? You've never had hemorrhoids? Anybody know what hemorrhoids are? Have you ever had difficulty in urinating or using the sinks?
No.
No. Have you ever had any problems with any of your orifices? No? how he's passed in the Army. That's my physical exam.
Four?
No, I haven't. You're only my second patient.
What? You've only done one
The
other?
first patient I had only had an infection from an ingrown toenail.
Well,
I've never done this before, but don't worry, you're in good hands. I'm a practicing doctor. I've been trained very well, and a two-year.
well, can I talk to this man that you worked on?
Well,
I'd like to talk
would
to
you
him.
like to meet Private Riley?
Yeah, I would like
You
to
can
meet
Private
him.
Riley here. He's right here. This is Private Riley. This is what's left of Private Riley.
That's a skeleton.
Well, it got infected and he died from the infection. And you can see him sticking
It was
his
a
tongue out.
toenail.
He's a very sarcastic man.
This is an arm.
I know, but well, this is the best I can do. Anyway, I couldn't fix his jaw either, but this is Private Riley. Unfortunately, he did survive. He had an infection and he died from his infection of an ingrown toenail. But don't worry, sir, you're in good hands. Okay. Now, Private Shed.
Yes.
I think it's very serious. Now, most of the time, with a bullet like this, we're going to have to amputate. And the reason is remember I showed you this bullet in the Revolutionary War, the round one? It slams into you. Well, this one has a conical shape. It's called a mini ball. You should write this down. It's called a mini ball. And this is in a rifle barrel, and it spins through the air at a very high velocity. It's very accurate. When it hits a bone, this thing, because it's expanding, the gas is in it, expands, see it's hollow here? This soft lead, when it hits a bone, it flattens out like this. And when it hits the bone, it's going to shatter the bone and splinter it. And there's no cure for it. I can't fix this. We're going to have to amputate his arm. Oh, it's bad. Be quiet over there. You're in good hands. Now, I'm going to have to amputate his arm. What about the skeleton?
But that guy's dead.
Oh, don't worry. Hey guys, 75% of all amputations survive. Now, where most of them died is the closer you had the amputation to the body, from the arm being cut here or the leg being cut off here, to closer to the body, more infection ensued, more shock to the body, and they died. But 75% of all amputations will survive. So you have a 75% chance of surviving there, Private Shed.
It's not like it's 100%, probably.
Well, it's better than no percent, right? No, you need to lay down here. Now, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go through this. Now, guys, on the back of your sheet are all these terms that I have on the back of your sheet. The first thing we have to do is anesthesia. What's anesthesia? Now, we didn't have it in the Revolutionary War. They had it in the Civil War, yes.
Things that make you like go to sleep. Or
I'm going to make them go to sleep. Now, remember the Revolutionary War, we didn't have this. But during the Civil War, we had ether and chloroform. But the problem with chloroform is it's very dangerous. It's flammable. Hush. It's flammable, and if I give too much of this to him, it can stop his heart and kill him.
What?
And I know of over 1,000 cases that happened during the Civil War. Private Shed, will you please be quiet or I'm going to get rid of you.
Where's my mommy?
So anyway, this is very dangerous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this to this cone, and you breathe in, just like you do today. There is lint in here. He's going to breathe this in, but there's going to be 2 stages. First, he's going to laugh hysterically. Then he's going to get very angry and very mad, almost to the point of violence, and then he's going to be out. And then I'll be able to operate on his arm. So let's see what happens here. Private Shed?
Can we talk about this?
No. Lay down, please, relax. Okay, I'm pouring it in very slowly. Breathe in. Breathe in.
I kill you! I kill you!
Now he is out. The next thing I have to do, here's a couple things that you should write down. If you ever have an injury where you break an arm or have a wound, what's the first thing the doctor's going to do?
Put a cast on it.
Well, not before that. They got to find where the break is or where it is. They have to take an x-ray, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have x-ray machines back then. Remember, we didn't even have electricity, so this is what you write down. First thing I'm going to do is take a probe, and I'm going to put this in the skin here and try to find where the bullet is. Okay? Sometimes I can even use my finger to find where the bullet is. Then, once I find the bullet, I'm going to take the bullet forceps and yank out the bullet. So, let's see here, Mr. Shed. Put this over here. Let's find it here. Take the probe. There we go, I found it. Around the butt. Ah! There's the bullet. Now, next thing I gotta do, tourniquet. Why a tourniquet? Anybody know what a tourniquet is?
I've heard of it.
Well, I'm gonna wrap this around his arm. Why do I have to do that?
To
To hold him in place.
To get like all the blood in one.
Exactly. What I want to do is cut off the circulation. So when I cut his arm off, because I'm going to have to amputate it, when I cut his arm off, if I don't have this tourniquet on to stop the blood flow, he's going to bleed to death, right? So I'm going to put this on real tight up above where I'm going to cut, so it's going to cut off all the blood flow, so when I cut his arm off, he's not going to bleed to death. So let's put the tourniquet on. He's asleep. Okay, that's on. Next thing. Ooh, this is the fun part.
Bone saw.
No. This is called the amputation knife. Before I cut off the arm, I got to cut off all the skin and muscle to get to the bone. So I can go around like this, which is called the circular motion, or I can use what's called a catlet. It's on your list on the back.
A knife?
What I'm going to do is cut. I'm going to cut all the flesh and skin, but I'm going to leave a little bit of skin here, like a flap. So when I cut his arm off, I can take this skin and roll it over and sew it shut so he has a stump here. So it's what's called a flap method. I'm going to cut the skin so I can fold the skin over to create a flap. So that's what we're going to do here. Okay, cut all that.
Are you trying to...
Now, I've cut away all the skin and muscle. Now I've got to cut the bone. And I can do this, a good surgeon can do it in 10 seconds. That's why they call this saw bones. So guys, I have two saws we can use on Mr. Shedd's arm. This one,
Yeah.
or this one.
Yeah.
That's a bone saw.
This is a bone saw. Now we cut it off. Now the arm has been removed. Now there's the next thing I have to do. Now, what I'm going to do next is a cautery and a tenaculum. A cautery is, there are blood vessels here that I've cut, and the reason why he's not bleeding is because I put what up here on him?
Tourniquet?
The tourniquet, right. So what I'm going to do, in a cautery, I put this in some fire, heat it up, and I can burn the blood vessels shut. So when I remove the tourniquet, he won't bleed to death. Or I can use what's called a tenaculum, which is what I use to thread with some thread to tie each of the blood vessels shut, so when I remove the tourniquet, he won't bleed to death. So that's what we're going to do next. Do that. Next thing I want to do is then stitch him up. I'm going to take the skin, fold it over to create a stump or like a flap. We're going to sew that shut. And sew all that. Once I've done that, I can remove the tourniquet. And he won't be needing this anymore. That's his arm. And now you get to see the piece de resistance, our work. Mr. Shedd, you can wake up now. Private Shedd.
My arm! Oh my gosh, my arm is gone. Oh, I'm still alive, but my arm is gone. Oh, where's my...
Do you want it back?
Oh, that's a really gross souvenir. Oh,
Not,
oh. Cut.
not really.